So tonight is going to be a bit of a watercolour sunset painting tutorial. Thanks to Kathleen, one of my subscribers, sent through this photo, and so we'll use that as a bit of a guide tonight and see how we go. To be honest, some of these are colour combinations I haven't used much before, and I'm going to be using a new colour I've never used before called Potter's Pink, so we'll see how that all goes. Yes, I'm obviously going to be referring to this. So all the colours, the brushes and the paper that I've used will be in the description below. And Happy New Year, by the way. It's 2021 and this is my first video for 2021, so thanks for joining me. So I'm just going to wet the page with this 2-inch hake brush. Favourite of mine, does drop a few hairs. Probably should replace it. I've got a fair few other ones, but I just really like it. So wet the page, always looking to the sheen of the paper to see how wet it is. And normally I'll come in with some warms first, so I might come in with obviously some bright bits up here. There's a little bit up here. It's going to be reflected down here, and then I'm going to just mix a bit of alizarin crimson with the Winsor Yellow. And if any of you have ever used alizarin crimson before, it's super strong. So you don't need much when you're mixing it with other colours. You don't need much at all. So we'll just come in and just make this. Here. As per usual, I don't like to sort of try and be too exact. Come in here, lots of little fine bits up in here. I think there's lots of little fine bits. So I'm just going to come in here. There's some of these darker bits of sky, darker bits of water. Darker bits. And some darker bits coming in along here. Right, so these are interesting colour combinations, I have to say. So I'm using a palette I'm not very familiar with, and it's not necessarily loving the way it's working, but that's okay. I might just come in and charge a few areas. We'll see if that can. That's the problem with watercolour, is you can't come in and do lights all the time. Come in and just pick up a few bits with a tissue. Just wipe out a bit of a light. I'll come in with some hard edges in a bit. Alright, so I'll just dry this. I'm just placing 3M Magic removable tape down, and and I'm pressing really. I've dried the paper for a fair while and I'm just pressing down really hard here. So in the photograph it was pretty dark, this part. In fact, pretty much black, but I'm not going to go black, but I am going to go pretty dark. So we'll see. I'm not going to, I could draw it in, but I'm just going to come across and not be too detailed. I can see that there's kind of the hint of sort of some trees and things. Sometimes you want to dry the brush a bit, because when it's drier it's more likely to sort of splay out a bit if you want to just have a little bit more, or just use a different brush. Hope my head hasn't been getting in the way. I'm not very good at remembering about that. And of course you could use whatever fine brush you wanted, and then it comes up into a pretty huge stand of trees, which we'll do the reflections of in a bit, and then it comes up even higher. Just splay the brush a bit and load up with some more pigment. Cool. That'll do. I'll just peel this tape off. I'm going to use my hake. Load it up. We're just going to come down here. And then what we might want to do is just just wet this a bit. And I probably should have wet this just before I did these reflections, but that's okay. We'll just wet this whole thing. There we go. Just makes it easier to do reflections. Using the tissue, getting a bit of a chisel edge of the tissue. Just to line. Now I'm just using a little bit of artistic license because the photo did not have this in it, like some sort of just a disruption in the shadow. So let's dry this. Now let's dry this. So this is the end of the watercolour sunset painting tutorial, thanks to Kathleen. So Kathleen, I hope you found this a bit helpful. I think there's a few things that I would do differently if I was to paint this again. And if I was trying to paint this like a finished painting, then I would paint it again a few times. Because it's some colours there that I'm not particularly familiar with. So some things that I would do differently next time is that I would not bring in this mix of Winsor blue, red shade and light red, which is very dark, too early. And I would make this part here more purple. And I would try and just mix with the yellows and the purples, you know, initially. And I'd find that easier on a larger scale, personally. So, and what I haven't done is brought in a harsh line here, because that's not what the painting has. It has a very solid line here, but it's not white. So I've just lifted out some lights and kept that colour there, because that's what it's a bit more like in the photo. So if I wanted to make a solid line here, I could, but it would only go white. And then if I tried to paint over the top of that, then it would soak up the paint in a different way, and it probably wouldn't look brilliant if you tried to paint colour into paper that you've scraped off. So, and that's the thing with watercolours, you know, you can't just go over the top like acrylics or oils, really, unless you use some gouache or something. So, I think this is the end of this painting, and thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. Just to let you know, I am launching Patreon on the 11th of January, so I really would love it if any of you could join me over there. I hope to really offer a lot of value, so head on over and have a look at that, and obviously if you want to, then you could support me there, and I will see you in the next video next week. Okay, good night.